So today now, we are going to be looking at JavaScript. This is a new topic, and we are entering JavaScript today. We'll be looking at JavaScript fundamentals and how to use it to add life and interaction to our websites that we've been building so far. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is just the language of the web. Just like HTML is also a language that browsers use to display things. CSS is used to style. JavaScript is also another language as well for web. It helps make your pages interactive. It's like the brain of your whole website or application. So HTML is the structure, the frame, the skeleton. CSS is the style. You now start to add flesh, you add eye, you add nose. Oh, I want blue eye, I want green eye, I want brown eye, I want black eye, I want brown hair, I want red hair, I want blonde hair, I want, long nails, I want short nails, I want long. That's CSS. You're just styling it in different ways. JavaScript is the brain. All those things are not necessarily, they are useful, but it can only do so much. It will look and feel good, but there's no life to it necessarily. Just like the human, the brain is the main thing, is the main, life form, is what is responsible for mobility, for every single thing you do, is the brain. And that's just what JavaScript is. Connects everything and brings it together to life. So JavaScript to help your website or your web application respond to any action you are taking. If you want to click somewhere, if you're typing, if you are scrolling, anything you are doing, JavaScript to help your page respond. So I'm going to look at a short history on JavaScript. It was first created in 1995, surprisingly within 10 days by Brendan Eich. And it was only first used for simple browser interaction. So it wasn't anything too complicated. It was just little interactions, but now it has grown into one of the most powerful languages in the world. Literally, you can't do anything web without JavaScript these days. And it's now used for front-end web browsers, back-end as well. Node.js is like the back-end of JavaScript. It's basically JavaScript you're writing, but for server. You use JavaScript now in mobile apps, you use it in game development, you use it in AI, virtual reality, Internet of Things, and many more things. Like, so many things now rely on JavaScript, so you can see how important it is. So where is JavaScript today? It's supported by all modern browsers, so Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge. It runs in the browser and on the server as well, so it can run in your front end, your browser, or on your server as Node.js backend. It's used by many top companies, so talking FAANG companies, Google, Netflix, Facebook, PayPal, top companies, big tech companies now use JavaScript. And the current major version is ES6. It was built in 2015. I know you think they would have called it ES5 because of 1 and 5 at the back of 2015, but no. ES6 was built in 2015. ES is just ECMAScript, so ECMAScript 6 was built in 2015. So most people use that ES6 or anything after ES6. There's ES7 now, but anything before that, people don't use it so much because JavaScript came in different versions with different functionality added on for each version. So now, what is ECMAScript ES? So JavaScript follows certain rules called ECMAScript. You can tell from the name that it's a scripting language. It's literally used for writing things like scripts, and we'll see what that is in action soon. But it follows certain rules called ECMAScript. Think of the ECMAScript as the official grammar book of JavaScript, right? It has to follow that rule in the grammar book. ES stands for ECMA standard, maintained by a group that makes sure all of the JavaScript versions, no matter the version they bring out and which year, they have to still follow those basic rules. And every time the language is improved and a new version of the ES standard is released, right? Every time the language improves, a new version of the ES standard is released. So basically, if they improve, they are currently on ES7 plus, right? Like ES7 now. But if the language is improved, they will upgrade it to ES8. And whatever year that ES8 came out will be tagged alongside the name, right? So that's what they just mean. So anytime they improve something on the language, they'll release a new version and call it ES, whatever that's number that is going to be following. So these are some of the changes that just happened. So the version, the year it came out, and what changed. So it's ES3 1999, It was the first popular version. Sorry. So this was the first one that became popular. Remember, it was built in 1995 within 10 days, but it was only used for simple interactions. But the first major one that became popular was from ES3 in 1999, and it was used for so many years. Then it's improved to ES5. You can imagine between 1999 and 2009. So it improved to ES5, and it became more stable, and it was still running everywhere across all your modern browsers. Then it improved to ES6, which was even now better, which is the one that many people still use now. Even as I'm speaking, you see ES6 that many people use now, and this was a very big upgrade in 2015. They changed some things, like when you want to declare a variable, you will say var keyword, use var, var, but in ES6 they changed it to let and const. They differentiated it, different types of variables. So let is more like var. It will let you do something that can still be changed later on, but const is a constant. Anything you put inside that constant doesn't change. They introduced things like arrow function, etc. Then there's ES7 that came out in 2016. It's more like smaller updates that are now going yearly. They are now adding little updates, just little fixes or improvements here and there. But the major upgrade between this and this was that ES6. So many good things came out there. So why ES6 was a big deal? Remember, I said that it was a very major update and people still use it till date. Why was it a big deal? So before ES6, JavaScript was harder to write and it lacked many features. So using ES3, ES5, it lacked many features. So ES6, also ECMAScript 2015, they added let and const, so the modern way of writing variables. They added arrow functions, they added template strings. All these you come to see how it's really useful. Classes, modules, and most tutorials today will teach you ES6 or above. Nobody will go back to teach you ES5 because there's really no point to it if we are being fair. So which version are we using now in modern day? Most browsers support ES6 and beyond. That's the truth of the matter. So that's why it's just better to learn from ES6. So whenever we write code like this, we are literally writing ES6. Let's name Winifred const year 2025. So you see, let and const. If it was before, we'll just put var name Winifred, var year 2025 before now. So ES6 was a big improvement to differentiate. So what can JavaScript do on our website? So it can help us. Maybe there are certain things you want to show or hide. You can do that. You can react to whatever a user is doing. Maybe they are clicking, they are typing something. You can put a specific behavior against it. It can help you change content on your page without having to reload your page. You can dynamically load content. You can build any features, slideshows, animation, anything you want to build, calculators, games. Yeah, these are just things you can use JavaScript to do. So what we'll learn in this week 9, we'll start simple. We are going to learn about what variables are. So let and const. We are going to learn data types. So number, string, boolean, null, undefined, just different data types. We'll learn operators for doing numeric operations. We are going to look at control structures, if-else statements. We'll look at switch statements, and then as we are doing this, we'll obviously be doing a practice on our work, but we may not be able to see any full-blown behavior on our work because I feel like the topic that we are going to have to enter to really do something that would affect our work directly is in either week 10 or 11. I don't remember which anymore. Moving on. What are variables? Let's look at what some of these things are. So the first one, variables. Think of variables like a container. It is just your digital container. What does a container do? It holds something, right? Yeah. So that's just what variables are. A variable is simply a container that holds something. And that thing it can hold like a text. It can hold a number. It can hold an object. And basically, you store things in containers so that you can have access to it again, right? So the same thing that variables will do. You will use that container somewhere else. It will hold that value, like remember that value, hold it for you. And you can now use that thing later on if you need to. Now, the next topic, data types. What are data types? Data types are they're essentially like classification of data, right? Any data you have will have a type that is classified into. So it can either be a text, which in JavaScript we call it string, or it can either be a number. In JavaScript it's still called number, or if it's a true or false, JavaScript calls that boolean, right? And we have other data types. We have null, we have undefined, we have objects, we have arrays. We'll look at what all of this mean. But basically, just know that is the way data types are essentially the way you classify a value, right? And that will determine what kind of value that is. Is it a string? Is it a number? And also what kind of operations can be performed on that value. That's essentially what data types are. Literally, the type of your data is in the word. The type of your data is a data type. What type is your data classified as? Operators. Now we have something called operators. What are operators? They are just used for mathematics or for combining things together. That's what operators are for. You can use them for either performing mathematical operations or to join things together. That's what you can use operators for. So in their name, literally. So most of these things, when you really sit down and look at the names, you see that the names pretty much explain, even if you've never seen it before, from the name you can guess what they mean. So basically, you use them to perform operations. That's why they are literally called operators. So examples are like minus, multiplication, division, addition, plus, equal to, minus. We'll look at how to use all of this. Then the next topic we are going to be looking at is control flow with if-else statements. So we can tell JavaScript, if this is true, do this thing, else do that thing. So for example now, let's say rain is falling and we save that here. Is it rainy? We save it as true. So you can now tell JavaScript in another part of your code that if it is rainy, return take an umbrella to the user, else return enjoy the sunshine. So usually where the condition comes from is from a back end. For example, now let's say you have a database that stores a list of products. Let's say you have a business now, maybe you have a bead making business, right? And you have bags, you have shoes, you have earrings, you have necklaces, all made of beads, right? And you have all those products saved in a database. When you connect your database to your front end application and they are now talking to each other well, let's say you now call that place that your products are saved. When you call that place that your products are saved, you can now check, let's say, for a particular user. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the user, somehow, you know that the user is interested. I'm just trying to think of the best example. But let's say, for a particular user, you want to show bags made of bead, and for a particular user you want to show earrings for them. So you will just check, is it user 1? If it's user 1, show them bag, else show them beads. That's just it. That's the whole idea. So it's just used to guide the control of what you want to do at a particular time. It's used to guide the flow of how you want to, the logic you want behind things at a particular time. Another way to do condition or control flow is with switch statements. So this one is mostly better to use when you have multiple conditions to check. So let's say that the current color from the back end is red. Maybe you saved something as red. So you can now check on your front end. You pass it in the switch statements. This is just the syntax, but we'll look at this later on. I just put them as examples. But basically, switch keyword, and then you pass in the variable holding that condition, color. So if it's red, show stop. If it's green, show go. Anything else, say proceed with caution. But when we start to write this in code, you understand better. Now, let's move over to the practice, because I feel like no matter how I explain, it may still be this, it may still sound too vague. So we are going to open up our website. We'll add a JavaScript file there. We are going to write some variables and conditions. And we are even going to do one more. We'll add a button that would make our page respond to us in a particular behavior that we tell it to do. So to start JavaScript, just like CSS, there are different ways that you can link it to a particular page that you want to use it. But just like CSS still, the best way still remains using an external style and then importing it into your .html file and using it from there. That's always the best. So we are just going to go straight and do that. And just like CSS, you see I created a folder for styles. I want to also create a folder for our JavaScript. I will just call it JS. JS is short for JavaScript. And I'll call this I don't even know what to call it. I'll just call it index.js. That's what I'll call it. And inside here, we can start to write our JavaScript. So you see HTML ends with .html, CSS ends with .css, JavaScript files should end with .js. Now I'll go ahead and link it to my HTML, and you have to link it in the body section of your HTML file. Any HTML file you want to use it, you link it within this body, open and close. So this body holding this whole thing, you can link it in here. I'll just link it somewhere down here. And to link it, you just say script src, and then you pass the src of that script. So me, I created my own in js/ you see index.js, and then you close it. So it has to have open and close as well, and save. And just like that, your JavaScript has been linked. So I'm going to open up our project in the browser the way we normally do. This is it. Put our index.html in the browser. And this is our index.html. Still fine. We have linked JavaScript, but nothing has really changed, right? But this is where I want to introduce you people to developer tools, dev tools. They are very, very important, especially when you start working with CSS and JavaScript. Very, very important, right? So to get to your developer tools, you right click and you say inspect, and it will open your developer tools for you to the side or the down, anywhere the position is. And inside developer tools, you have access to your elements, that's your HTML and your CSS. But what I want to use today is our console. Our console tool, because this is where I'll be displaying all the JavaScript. Because like I said, we are not doing any major changes to our website yet. Next week we are going to start to play around with things, maybe try to build some slide, or I don't know. But for this week, I just want to introduce you to the full concept first, get you to play around with it. So I'll be using mostly console, and I'll show you how to display stuff in here. So right now we have linked that JavaScript file, and we are ready to start writing our JavaScript inside of that file. So the first thing we talked about was variables, right? So I'm going to teach you guys how to create a variable, or how to declare a variable. So to declare a variable, I'll be using comments. To write comments in JavaScript, every language has comments. We've seen comments in HTML, we've seen comments in CSS. For JavaScript, it's just like this, or yeah, control and / for shortcuts, or you just do double this and then you have your comments. So this is on variables today. Please, and you can stop me at any time to ask me questions. To be honest, if you're not following, I would really appreciate it if you ask me, oh, what is this? Oh, why did you do this? Oh, I don't understand this. That will be really, that helps me as well to go back and explain and know exactly which parts are, problem points and which parts are good. So yeah, just let me know if you need me to pause and come back. But variables. So to declare a variable, we said there are two ways to declare a variable. You can use let keyword, or you can use const, right? I don't want this thing showing. Let's not confuse anybody. You can use let or const. The difference between let and const is that let can be reused multiple times, right? If you write let something equal to something somewhere down your page, like, so if I say let's, for example, my name equal to Winifred, somewhere down the line I can still carry this my name like this and change it to another name. Let will allow us do that, right? But with const, if this was const, it will throw error. You can't do that with const. Const is a constant in the name, you can hear it, but let will let you change whatever this variable is as many times. So to declare a variable, you need three things. You need the keyword, right? You need the name of the variable, and then you need to assign something to your variable. This is how to declare a variable. These are the three things involved in declaring a variable. So the keyword, which is let or const, the actual name of that container, because let and const is not the name. Let and const are just the keywords that help you create your container, right? So when you use those words that help you create your container, you now have to name your container, and then after naming your container, you will now put something inside your container. And there are cases where you can just create your container without putting something inside. So sometimes you can do let me say greeting. You can just do it like this. So the reason why I said we'll be using that our console, there's something called console.log, and basically it helps you to log things to your console. Your console is this. Your console is this tool in your developer tools. It helps you to log things in there. So it's a built-in JavaScript function. Console.log is a built-in JavaScript function. You don't have to create it. You can just call it JavaScript. I've already pre-programmed it inside. And it lets you to output messages to this console. So it's really, really good when you are testing things that you don't necessarily want to show on your main page. You just want to test something and see something, the way something is behaving. You can do that with console, right? So if I console.log greeting, and with JavaScript, at the end of every statement, you have to put semicolon. If I console.log greeting, you will see undefined, because greeting doesn't have anything inside that container yet. Greeting is just an empty container. So you can declare a variable like this and leave it empty and use it when you want to use it. So if I want to use this variable now, I can just say greeting is equal to good afternoon, like so. And if I refresh again, you will see good afternoon here in my console. Or you can do it all on one line. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it all on one line. Let my name equal to Winifred. You can use single quotes. You can use double quotes, by the way. Then if I console.log my name, you will see the same thing, Winifred. But if I come down here again and say my name is equal to Winnie, let's refresh and see what happens. You see, it's now Winnie. So I just reassign this variable. Even if at first it was Winifred, I called it again and changed it to Winnie. But if this was a const, if this was not a let, if this was a const, you see error. Assignment to constant variable, index.js line 10. It's telling us that in our line 10, we are trying to reassign a constant, and that is not allowed in JavaScript. So anything that you know that will most likely change, let's say something from your back end, you want to store it in a variable on your front end. If that thing may change at any point, maybe the data in the back end will change, just don't use const, use let. But if you are sure that that thing will never ever change, use const. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does. So this is all with variables like this. You are masters of variables now. You know variables. So play around with it. Do what you want to do. Now let's look at data types. So now, in data types, we have different types of data types. Like I said, data types are just the way it's literally the type of a data, right? So we have string. String is just texts. We have number, we have boolean, we have null, we have undefined. We are talking of JavaScript now. We have objects, we have array. These are all just types of data types. So now let's look at writing a string. Let's take it from the start. Strings. Let's write a string. So I'll just call it let, and by the way, you can name your variable anything, but one rule of thumb is that it always has to make sense to what you are trying to achieve. So let's say you are trying to write a function that will display the time of, like, display a greeting to the user, like good morning this if it's morning, or good afternoon this. You know that your function, maybe the name will most likely be greeting, and even the variables that you are declaring inside that function should make sense, right? So you can name it anything. The only thing is that you cannot have space. So you cannot do like my string is not a valid variable, but you can do like this. You can do like this if you want to be able to read it better. You can even do like this, right? These are all valid. You can even add numbers like this. So you can always declare a variable like that. And now we are going to look at how data types connect to variables. But first, let's even understand what are data types. Again, we said that data types are just the literal type of your data. Any data you have, whether it's a number, whether it's a word, a text, is a type of data. And that data is classified into a specific type. So now let's look at string. String is a data type, and string is basically like text. So I'll just be using let so that I can reuse the variables instead of const, right? So I'll just say let name is equal to John. This right here is a string. What makes a string is if it's inside quotes. I can say let age equal to 30. This right here is a number data type, right? But if I do something like this, let's size equal to 5.5. This is a number. But if I go and put quotes around it, it's no longer a number. It's now a string again because of the quotes. So JavaScript will no longer interpret this as a number. Although you wrote 5.5 inside or 5 or whatever, JavaScript now automatically sees it as a string because of the quotes around it. But if you take off the quotes and leave it without a quote, is a number. So just have that at the back of your mind. So let's do the next one. Let's say
sorry, please, can you come again?
On which part? Sorry.
This very last one.
The number, okay, what I was saying about JavaScript interpreting number versus string. So I was like, if I do something like let age is equal to 30, these two are now different things, right? This age, I don't want it to be showing this error. Let it not confuse you. Let me just use different names. So this age now, 30, and this age is not the same data type anymore. This one, JavaScript sees it as a number. Why this one, JavaScript will see it as a string? Because you've added quotes around it. So the primary thing that makes a string, regardless of what you write inside it, is the quotes. You get? If I remove these quotes, JavaScript will now see this as a number. But if I add in a quote around it, JavaScript will not calculate it or see it as a number. JavaScript will see it as a string. String is like text. Number is like numerical values. String is like text values. So JavaScript will see this as text. And it will make more sense when I start to do operation plus and minus. You'll see how JavaScript sees this thing behind the scene. But for now, just know that a string, you wrap a string in quotes. Either single quotes like this or double quotes, but you wrap a string in quotes. While number has to be a number without quotes. If you go and carry a number and wrap it in quotes, JavaScript will treat it like a string. Just have that at the back of your mind. So the next data type we have Boolean. So let's say it's student. So we want to check if the person is a student. You can pass in true, or you can even pass in false. You know, anyone you like.
Oh, sorry to take you back again.
Yeah.
You said JavaScript sees numbers that are in quotes as strings, right?
Yes.
So what about words that are in quotes? What does it see it as?
It's still a string because it's in quotes.
Okay. So there's no difference whether it is a number or not.
Exactly. If you go and pass in 30 here, JavaScript will see it as a string. If you pass in John, so far it's between quotes, is a string.
Okay.
But if I go and remove this quote from this John, it will be there, but it's going to throw an error because John is not a real number.
Okay.
Right? So naturally, we know that something like John or words in general should be strings. We know with our common sense that words should be strings, but
Yeah.
numbers should be numbers without quotes in front and at the back of them. Numbers should just, if you intend to make a value, a number, just don't put quotes around it. Then so we have booleans. Booleans are just true or false, right? True or false. That's what booleans are. So they can either be true or false. We have the next one, we have null. So let's just say let's address. Let's say John doesn't have an address, null. Null values are just basically, they don't have any value, no value to them, like almost like empty, but they are like you did not put any value like John or 30 or true or false. So they will still create a variable for you, a container, but there's no value in that container yet. Then we have undefined. So this is like an example of undefined. Let's, like what I did on top here. Let phone number. You did not assign anything to it. So you see the difference between null and undefined. Null, nothing is inside it, but at least you passed in the data type of null to know that, hey, it is a container, it is a variable, but let it be empty for now. While undefined, you did not even say, oh, let it be empty for now. You just declared the variable. You literally just called the variable, gave it a name, but you did not say, okay, it can be empty for now. Oh, something will be inside. You just call the variable and that's it. So it's going to return undefined because it's not null and it's not a string. It's not a number. It's just not anything. So what am I supposed to do with this name now? I don't know. So to tell you undefined, basically I don't know. Then we have objects. So let me just, this is how to write an object. You declare a variable, give it a name, but you give it this symbol in front, equal to these two curly brackets. That's how you give it. Then inside this curly bracket now, you can now construct anything you want. An object is basically, it's a container still, but it has different parts to it, different attributes to it. That's basically like an object, right? So let's say you are a person. You have different features, right? You have eye, you have nose, you have mouth, you have all these things. So that is like an object. So let's try to create one now. So you declare a variable, but you say equal to this curly bracket in front, and then I'm just creating a person object. You can create an object of anything literally, so long as it makes sense to you. So I'm creating a person object. First name, let's just call her Jane. Last name, let's call her Doe. Let's say she's 25 years old. Let's keep it at that. And an object now can have multiple data types in it. That's the thing. So let's say I'm a child now. I have a toy. I can choose to create an object for my toy. Let's say toy. Color, red. The type of toy is a car. The price of I bought the toy is this amount. Is it available? Yes, it's available. Let's say I'm a store that sells the toy. Let's just put it. So you can have different data types in an object. So basically, right, an object is like, it's also a container. You declared like a variable, but it's going to hold related information about a particular thing. Whether it's a person, whether it's an item, anything. So instead of 111 like this, this name holds one type of data. It holds only string. Age holds only number. Student holds only boolean, and so on and so forth. An object is capable of holding multiple data types in it, but related to one single entity. It's like a box that has different labels. So this person is a box and he has different label. He has a label of first name, he has a label of last name, he has a label of age, like that, and is related to the person variable. That's an object. But I'm not expecting you guys to put everything in your head just today. Definitely takes time. The concept takes time to grasp, but you will. Now let's do the last one, array. Same thing. You can create an array. I'm going to call my own colors. To create an array, you know, an object, we did this curly brackets. For array, you would do square brackets like this, open and close. Right? I did not tag this one, objects. Yeah. For arrays, is square brackets, open and close. And in an array, you can have multiple items, elements in your array. So let's say I'm creating an array for colors. You can just say red, green, blue, like that. That's an array. So now let's see everything we've done and see what it looks like. I'm just going to console.log. I'll change this to first name just because name is a sensitive word in JavaScript, so it's underlining it when I go to do console.log. We'll get into that soon. But yeah, so I'll do console.log, first name, console.log age, students, everything we basically done. I'll console.log everything now. And colors finally, right? So let's see what that looks like in our console. So as you can see, this is everything we've done. We are just using our console to test again. Don't overly think it. Our console is just for testing. So our first name, John. Where is John? John. Age. Data type of number, 30. Boolean, true. Null, undefined. This is our object and this is our array. So these are just different data types. I'm just showing people data types. So now, what is the relationship between variable and data type? You can see that one cannot necessarily do without the other. A variable is a container where you hold a data type, essentially. That is the long and short of it. A variable is simply like a container where you hold a particular type of data, a data type. So they are correlated in a way. Moving forward, let's look at operations, arithmetic operations now, operators rather. So we have different types of operators. We have arithmetic operators, we have assignment operators, we have comparison operators, we have logical operators, and let's see what this is. So now, let's start with arithmetic operators. These are arithmetic operators, so your plus, minus, multiplication, division, we call this one modulus. We'll see what it is. Let's test some. So I'll just say let num1 equal to 10, let num2 equal to 5. This is me declaring a number now, and I'm storing it in a variables, num1 and num2, and I have number data type inside of each of them. So let's do the first one. Let sum is equal to num1 plus is the operator here, plus num2. And here we are doing addition. Let's console.log, you can see. Sum. This thing I put in front of console.log, it will just help me read it better in my console. Sum is the main variable, this sum. This other one is just a text that will show before my variable to help me read it. I can choose not to do it. After all, in the others, as you can see, I was not doing anything to help me read it better. So you can call it anything. You can put any text inside here. I just want to help me read it better. So basically, the sum, we can see 15. So you can see that it did 10 plus 5 for us. Remember, num1 plus num2. Num1 is what? 10. Num2 is what? 5. So basically, you can see that num1, JavaScript knows that num1 is holding 10 and num2 is holding 5. So any operation you carry out in these two things, it will treat them as numbers and carry them out. If I'm to make this a string, that thing I told you about, let's see if it will behave the same way. We don't know. Do you see? It says it's 105. And that is because JavaScript is basically doing it like this. Oh, num1, 10 plus 5. So to it cannot carry out a mathematical operation on this. It will just say, okay, it's 10 and 5. And it will spit out 105 for you. So this is why you have to know your data types and know when you want to use them and how you want to do them. So let's do for minus, the same thing, num1 minus num2. Let's see if it will minus it well for us. Did I change it back to... We need it as numbers, please, yeah. So the difference, 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. Let's do for multiplication. Call it products. So 10 times 5, we should see what? 50, right? Let's do for division. They call it quotient, but it's also division, to be fair. Quotient or division, the same thing. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Let's do for remainder. Remember when we were doing remainder in primary school? This remainder, this, you know whether it's an even or odd. The remainder of 10 and 5 is 0 because it's even. If we are doing something like 10 and 3, I don't know if you remember remainder in secondary school, but we all know what remainder. We are not trying to teach primary school grade maths here anymore. But if you remember remainders in primary school, it's literally the same thing that is doing. When something divides something, is the remainder 0 or is the remainder 1? So 10 divided by 5, the remainder is going to be 0. So these are just simple mathematical operations, to be fair. Basic things that you do in maths, JavaScript can do it. And from here, you can create a calculator. If your JavaScript is strong enough, you can build a calculator logic and the rest of those. So these are just arithmetic operators. Let's look at assignment operators. Now, assignment operators is using this same arithmetic, plus, minus, times, divide, but you add it with equal to. So in JavaScript, when you put equal to something, you are assigning that thing to something else. So for example, in our variable, when we said, let my name is equal to Winifred, we are assigning Winifred to my name because of this equal to. This equal to is making us assign this value to this container. So it's the same thing with assignment operators. When you put equal to an operator, you are doing an assignment operation generally. So let's try one now. Let's say let x is equal to 10. So we declare a variable called x and we assign 10 to it. Now if I do x plus equal 5, we are essentially doing x is now equal to, remember x is 10. So we are essentially doing x is equal to 10 plus 5. Because remember, x is 10. So when we now say x plus equal to 5, we are now holding that x, whatever it formerly was, and we are adding 5 to it. So it's a shortcut to do, to add something to an existing value in a variable. So let's console.log x. I'll just call it x, and then I'll console my x and see. So we see now x is 15. So it's the same thing with minus and the rest. If I do let a is equal to 20 and then a minus equal 5, let's see what it will do for us. Now it should be 15 because 20 minus 5 is 15. So you can do assignment operator on anything. Let b 15, b times equal to. Again, I'm not expecting that all of this stick. Honestly, don't be hard on yourself. If it's not fully sticking, it will make sense when you go back, practice it, be curious. You say, okay, what's the reason for this? Why did this behave like this? And you get curious and then you will see. So again, we did multiplication assignment operator times equal to. So 15 times 2 will give you this. We can do for divide as well. 30 divided equals 3 will give you, it should be 10, right? Because 30 divided by 3 is 10. So we have these assignment operators essentially, right? We have what's the next type of operators? Comparison operators. That's the next one. Comparison operators are like your equal is not equal, is also is not equal, but it's a stricter version. Greater than, less than, greater or equal to, less or equal to. So let's try some of them. So let's say let's num3 is equal to 10. Let num4 is equal to 10. Right? Now, let is equal to num3 is equal num4. This is called a loose equality. So basically, for these comparison operators, you use it to compare two things, to check if they are equal to each other, or if they are not equal to each other, or if one is bigger than one. You understand? That's what comparison operators are for. So you can see different operators are for different things. Arithmetic operators is used to perform basic arithmetic operations like plus, minus, times, divide. Assignment operator is used to perform the same operations, but add, like, you perform the operation while also adding a new value to that operation you are performing. It's still basic plus, minus, times, divide, but you are also adding a new value to it. So you are performing the operation and you are assigning on top of it. Comparison is in the name, to compare two things together. When they talk about comparison, there must be something that you're comparing against something else. So let's say we have two variables here, num3 and num4, and we are trying to check, is this 10 equal to this 10? Let's see how JavaScript will interpret it. This is how to check if something is equal to something. And one thing people are confused about is that they often confuse this type of equal to, when I say first name is equal to this equal, or equal. Comparison operators and assignments is not the same thing. Remember, I said that when you want to assign something, you use equal to, like this. So I'm assigning Winifred to this container. I'm saying, Winifred, sit down in this container, right? I'm saying, John, sit down here for now, just wait inside this container, stay there. But when I want to compare two things, right, you will now use equal, or equal, or is not equal to, or greater than, or less than. So they are not the same thing. This equal to is just when you are declaring a variable, like you want to put something in that variable. While this equal, or equal, or the rest of them is when you want to compare two things together, right? So just get that one at the back of your mind. So I've declared a variable, I called it is equal, and this variable is going to be holding this check, this comparison. Is num3 equal to num4? And I would, anything that the answer is will be stored inside this variable, right? So I will just console this variable inside here and see what it will tell us. You see, he said that is true. Is equal to. But remember, this is a number and this is a string. So why that? This is where the loose equality or strict equality comes in. Let's try another one. I'll call this one is equal strict. Just a name that makes sense to me, because I don't really know what to call it. So I'll just call it strict. So if I use equal, let's see what happens. So remember, this one is equal. The comparison is equal. This one is equal. Triple equal and double equal. You see it's false on this one, because in JavaScript, when you compare two things with double equal, even if they are not the same data type, if JavaScript is saying that is the same number that is inside them, even if they are not the same data type but it's the same number, JavaScript will think is like, when you compare them with double equal, JavaScript will see it as okay, they are the same thing. But if you use triple equal when doing comparison, and one is a different data type from the other, even if they are the same text inside, essentially, JavaScript will not see them as the same thing. That's just what you have to know about comparison. Then the next one is not equal. Let's do not equal. Let's say let E is equal to 2. Let D is equal to 3. Now let's do let is not equal. E is not equal to D. Let's console.log is not equal and see. So true, because really and truly E is not equal to D. E is 2, D is 3. But if we are to make D 2 as well, you see that is now false, because E is actually equal to D. And in here we are saying E is not equal to D, but that's a lie. E is actually equal to D, so it will return false. But if E is truly not equal to D, it will return true. So these are just ways to check different things. I think when we get into our website and start to really use all these things we are doing in our website, it will make more sense to you, like why we are doing this, why we need to use this, or even when to use things. For now, you may not know. Don't think of it in the general sense of, oh, I have to build my site with JavaScript now. Think of it like, oh, I'm just learning the single parts, every single strand in JavaScript is what I'm learning now. Remove anything I've taught you on HTML and CSS. Just look at JavaScript as a whole new concept separate from our website, and you are just learning the very strands of it now. You are not using it to do anything yet on our website. Now, let's do, and also for is not equal, you can do strict as well, right? Not equal, equal. That's how to do the strict version of not equal. So we can try that as well and see what it evaluates to. But yeah, it's still true because 2 is equal to 2. 2 is not equal to 3, so that is true, right? But even if we change it to 2 and we made this like a string again, let's see what will happen. It will still be true because JavaScript is saying that this 2 is truly not equal to this type of 2 for this strict one. But for the one that is not strict, it's going to say false. Again, I know that is looking very mixed up, but don't overthink it. Just take it bit by bit. It doesn't come all in one day. Now, the next comparison operator we have greater than. So is num3 greater than num4? Let's see. I'm going to remove this. Num3 greater than num4 is supposed to tell us false, exactly, because 10 is not greater than 10. Num3 and num4 is the same thing, but if I did like maybe 11, it's still going to be false because 10 is not greater than 11, right? So yeah, so if we do less than, now it's going to be true because num10 is really less than 11, right? Num3, which is 10, is really less than num4, which is 11. So we have greater or equal to, so this one is just checking is something greater or equal to something. So it should still return us the same thing because it's basically checking that is 10 greater or equal to 11. Is false. 10 is not greater than 11 and is not equal to 11. The same thing. Is 10 less than or equal to 11? It's going to be yes, because while 10 is not equal to 11, is definitely less than 11. So something about it is true. So those are all comparison operators. The last one we have is logical operators. So I would say for these operators, really go back and master it well, because every single thing that you are going to be writing, you find yourself making some sort of comparison or operation in general. You find yourself doing some sort of operation. So let's do logical operators. Finally, we even have ternary, but I don't want to go too deep into it. But for logic, it's just what the word is. Let's just say is logged in. So you want to check if a user is currently logged in. And let's use the next one. Let's say is paid. You want to check if that user is also paid. Let's even make both of them true. Let's start with true and true. So and condition, let's just call a variable called and condition. So we are checking is logged in and is paid, right? So if both of them are true, it's going to evaluate to true. But if one of them is not true, it's going to return false. So now we are seeing it's returning true, right? But if I'm to change is paid to false, it's going to check, are both of them true? If both of them are not true, it will return false because at least one is false inside there. That's just the and condition. Then we have or condition. To write or, you use this double pipe. This one is called double ampersand. This and is called an ampersand. So you write it 2 times to do the and operator. To do the or operator, you write this pipe sign 2 times as well. So we want to check if, so we are going to do the same thing but for or. So it's going to check for one or another. Remember, and is for both of them. And is for, are these 2 things the same? If they are the same, return true. If they are not, if at least one is different, return false. or is just checking for one inside. If at least one of these things meet this criteria or this condition, return true. If both of them don't meet the condition, it will return false. But if at least one inside meets the condition, it will return true. And you see, it's returning true because is logged in is true. So at least one of them here is true. Then we have not. Let's try and see what not is. With not, you use this exclamation mark in front of the thing you are trying to check for. So let's see what happens. Not is false, and the reason why it's returning false is because it's logged in is true, and we are here checking that like is logged in false. Essentially, this is another way to write if something is not true. You will just put that exclamation mark in front of it. Not. So basically, if something is not true. The next thing that I want to look at is ternary operator. I know I didn't put this in this slide, but ternary operator is simple. Is also you comparing something. You are checking something and you are asking a question to know whether something is true or false. So in this one now, we declare a variable called age check, and we are saying age is what again? Age is 30, abi? Age is 30. So we are saying age, if age is greater or equal to 18, this question mark is the actual check, right? So if age is greater or equal to 18, you are asking that question, yeah? If it's true, return adult. Else, this column is else, return minor. So let's see what it will do in our age check. Adults, you see adults. So this is how to write ternary operation. Is a short form of doing if else, and the next thing we are going to be moving into now is if else. I just started to treat it before that because we are in operators and is a type of operator. This and this is what you use for ternary, question mark and colon. So this is basically how to do ternaries. Age, is it greater or equal to 18? If it's true, return adult, else return minor, and this is just it. So we see. Now let's do conditional statements. So if else, and switch. Now let's start with if statements. I'm using the same age. I'm saying if age is greater or equal to 18, console.log for me, you are an adult. Let's see. We see that it's now consoling you are an adult for me. God, I'm trying to sneeze, but it's not coming because age is actually 30. If we reduce age to 10, let's see what happens. Nothing. It's not consoling anything because it's not finding anything that meets this criteria. You are saying if age is greater or equal to 18, but it's seeing 10 there. So what is it going to do? Nothing. But if you want it to do something else, you can add an else part, which is now what makes it an if-else statement. So you can say else console.log you are a minor. So let's see what happens. You see now you are a minor because it's seeing a value that is less than this 18. So anything you change it to, whether you change it to 96, it will just check, is that age greater than 18? See, you're an adult again. So you see the logic, they are just conditional statements where you write a statement based on a condition. Age is the condition. The condition is that if the age of the person is greater than this, do this. And it's the same thing they use in JavaScript where, you know, you can greet somebody good morning or good afternoon. I can do something like if, I can say let's time of day. Is equal to morning. I can say this. Then I can say if time of day is morning, good morning. Else, if time of day is afternoon, good afternoon. Else, anything else, greet them good evening. So it's just going to do the check, right? Oh, time of day, good morning, because it's morning that is there. If you change it to afternoon, it will be afternoon. good afternoon. But if you don't put anything inside, let's say you make it empty, right? Anything else, it will say good evening because you said else. So as if this, do this. Else, if afternoon, do afternoon. Else, so this last else will be anything that is not inside these two. Do this. So you can write this if else as long as you want. Anyhow you want to write it and be going, you can write it and be going. Is going to be checking every condition you ask it to check till it gets to the end, right? But a better way to write, especially when you have multiple if else, so that you won't confuse yourself. A better way to write it is with switch statements. So let's look at switch. Let's do the same time of day. So you start with switch, then you pass the condition time of day, right? So then the next thing you say case morning. So you can see it's the same thing you are writing here. You instead of if, you say switch. Time of day is equal to morning. You will pass time of day and case morning. Then you do the same thing you want to do, console.log. And after every switch statement, you have to break out, because once it finds the condition it's looking for, it will break out of this. It will not continue checking the rest. It will just break out of anywhere I find this that it meets the condition. It will break out and stop checking the rest, right? So we can check our switch statement and see. So you see it's still good evening because I left it as empty. Even if I write rubbish inside, that rubbish is still not morning or afternoon, so it will still tell me good evening because that is anything else. If I say afternoon, now it should tell me good afternoon, right? Yeah. So that's just condition. That's all with conditional statements. That's really it. You specify a condition and the JavaScript will just be able to check if your condition match the criteria, right? And whenever you are checking condition, especially in if else statements, it's always good to use the strict comparison. So I don't know if something is ringing in your head now, the question that your mind is asking. But for me personally, I'm seeing that every single thing relates to the next thing that we will do. And this is what I mean. We started with variable that was just a container that is holding something. Then we looked at data type. And we saw that data type relies on a variable too, right? Because the data type is actually what we are actually writing, the string or the number, and you have to put it in a container for a container to hold it. That's a variable. We now move down to operators. And you see that we are still using variable because even for you to perform an operation, you have to save that operation inside a variable, right? To be able to even use that variable and get your answer from the two operations you are carrying out. Same thing with conditional statements. If is now relying on condition, and remember we looked at conditionals here, logical operators. If this is equal to this, or and then equality operator. We looked at comparison operators rather and logical operators. Our equal to our equal, something being equal to something, return true or false. But they still have to be saved in a variable for you to use that variable to return the answer of this. Now we are moving to conditionals, and you are seeing that we are still checking even our if statements. We are still using comparison operators, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, equal to check our if statements and our switch statements. So are you seeing how it's like a cascade, one thing on the heels of the other thing, like one thing relies on. So this concept I'm teaching you one. By the time it makes sense to you individually, I want you to start forming the idea that it's not one or the other. They all rely on each other in a way to create a full JavaScript flow for you, right? So one more thing I'll look at, which is like an intro to what we'll be doing next week. I will look at click events because it's part of our this week topic, but I cannot do it without introducing something I want to do from next week. So right now, the only thing we'll do for our page, I want to toggle this thing. I want to click a button so that this whole intro will show. And if I click that button again, the whole intro will hide. So that's just a little exercise of JavaScript we are going to do on our work today. So the first thing first, you go to the section that you want to do something on. And I want to do a button. This button, I will call it toggle introduction. You know what toggle is now, to switch something on and off. So I want to toggle it, right? So let's see if our button has created. Oh, our button is there, nice, but it's not doing anything now. It's just a button. Click, 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 nothing is happening, right? So I would like to give it some styles. I will just give it inline style because this is the only place I will use this style. I don't care about the style that much. So I'll give it display block. I'll give it let me do all these things on separate line because it's going to rough the whole thing. Even these styles, I'll put them on separate line. Display block. Margin 20 pixels auto to center something. We've been through all of this in CSS now. Padding 10 and 20, font size 16. I'll also give it a background color of, which color is nice now? Let's just call it dark sea green, and color of white. This is just CSS, has nothing to do with our stuff. I'll also give it a border of none. I just want the button to look nice so that it will flow with our page regardless. An outline of none. I've taught all of this in CSS, so don't worry yourself if you don't understand. If you've not gotten to our CSS section, you won't really understand. So toggle intro. I also like to make my buttons round a bit, so I'll give it a border radius of 4 pixels, just so our button looks nice and round-ish. So you see the edges are now curved. But it's not doing anything. Toggle intro is not doing anything. So in your button, if you want to add JavaScript to make something behave somehow, you can add different functionality. And one functionality that button have is on click. So this is a whole different topic, but it's about events. There's a topic in JavaScript called events. We'll be looking into that soon in the next class. But essentially, like, events are just things that happen in your browser, events that will happen in your browser. Let's say when the user is clicking on a button, what is going to happen? When the user is typing in a box, what is going to happen? When the user is moving their mouse, what is going to happen? That's just an event. So we have different types of events in JavaScript. Next week, we'll treat that. But I just want to give a brief intro into it. So we have one event called on-click events. We even have on double click, we have on different things, on like different types of events, but we'll just do on click for today. Next week we'll go more into it. So now in that on click event, you can now add a function, and this is now me introducing you people to functions, although we have not gotten there yet. But this is how to write a function in JavaScript. You give the function a name and attach it to an HTML element such as a button or an H1 or a section or anywhere, but you write a function and attach it to that element. Like this is how to attach a function to an element. Now let's go and create our function because our function doesn't exist. So we'll go to our JavaScript, and to create a function you will use the function keyword and the name of your function, and then open and close brackets and this, and like so you have a function. Now which section do I want to toggle? I want that when I click on this button, this whole section should hide. And when I click on the button again, the section should display again. So I'm going to give this whole section an ID. So this is the whole section from here to here. I'll give it an ID. And I'll just call it intro text. Just something that makes sense to what the section is about, right? So now, what I can do, right? What I can do is that in my JavaScript, I will declare a variable in my function. I will just say let intro be equal to. Now, this is another topic we want to do next week. But when you want to target HTML from inside a JavaScript file, you can use something called DOM manipulation. DOM. Don't worry about anything I'm saying from this point. We are going to look at it next week. But you can say documents dot get elements by the class name or get the elements by the ID, and you will pass in the name of that ID that you created. And just like that, in this my variable, right, I have access to anything in intro text, anything. I have access to everything in here in my JavaScript. JavaScript is now seeing that part just from the same name of the ID, right? So now to create the toggling, I will say if this is just me thinking of my logic now, right? Now, I will say, because JavaScript now has access to that my elements, I can now look at it. I can say if intro, that is this intro, that is a variable, remember is holding this whole thing. If intro dot style, and this is just pure JavaScript we are writing now, dot display. If the display says none, right? Sorry, equal, we are not assigning, we are comparing. So if the display is none, right, then make it block. So make the intro.style.display block. So if it's none, make it block. Else, make it none. Simple. So what we've just done here now, we've collected our elements using that ID related to that whole section. And we are now checking if the display style is none, change it to block. Display none is that the display should not show. Display block is that the display should show as a block element standing alone on its own, right? So if the display is currently none, make it to be display block. But if it's not none, make it to be none. If it's anything else, make it to be a none. So let's see if it will work. So currently display is block. If we do none, if we click on our button, right, it will just be changing that if else statement. So currently now it's showing as display block. If we click, it will change it back to none. If we click, it will change it back to block. And let's go to our console.log and see if anything is happening. So we can even console here. Introduction is now visible. Introduction is now hidden. Let's see what is happening as we are doing it from our console. I'll clear all this. Introduction is now hidden. Introduction is now visible. Are you seeing it? So our console, like I said, is for testing. It will help you to be monitoring your work and you can be testing inside your console. Now you see how it can be used for one way. I've just used it to test my button, if my button is working right. I've just tested my button. So I just wanted to give a little bit of intro into what we'll be looking at next week. But this is when JavaScript starts to make more sense because we'll be bringing it into our website. This week, I just wanted to give you people the basics of, just variables, data types, operators, and conditional statements. Once you know these 4 parts of JavaScript, you are good to start at least doing little logic. But there's a lot more to it. There's still methods, JavaScript methods. There's still handling arrays, handling objects, so many parts to objects. There's still deeper parts of function. There's DOM manipulation. There's handling forms, making API calls, async and await, promises, fetch, and all of those things. There's a whole lot to cover in JavaScript, but we are going to try our best to do it within these 4 weeks. I know that 4 weeks is barely enough for anybody to master JavaScript, but what I'm trying to achieve is give you guys the stepping stone to now start your own journey. Pick your own curiosity so that you can now go outside and start to learn. So once I save this video and upload on YouTube, I will share the recording, I will share the slide, but most importantly, I will share some learning resources. So like if you go to your browser and you check W3 Schools, this is one very good place to learn JavaScript and it's very, very beginner friendly. So you just need to go to their JavaScript tutorial and they will teach you everything from literally the basics of the basics. And the good thing is that you have a try it yourself editor where you can click and they will make you try the same thing yourself. You can type code here and you'll be seeing whatever you are doing displaying in here. They were one of the people I used and they were really, really helpful for beginners because they are very detailed, even concepts that we may not cover in this class. W3 Schools, we cover everything. The JavaScript classes, if you are going back to back, it can take you another like 6 weeks before you can cover everything here. It's a lot, but it's extremely detailed. So I'm going to attach this as well to everything. And then the last announcement I said I was going to make was about the was about the
LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah. So one thing I wanted us to start doing, because this class is now, we are now advancing. For those of you that have finished HTML, CSS, and you're doing GitHub, you now have a real portfolio online as a real developer. And anybody you tell that I do this, the first thing they'll ask you, show me your portfolio. So now that we have done GitHub, once you people are able to push whatever work you've been doing for all these weeks onto GitHub, I want to be able to start giving people little visibility. So just create a LinkedIn profile for me. That's one thing. If you don't have one already, create one. If you have one, try and optimize it, make it look very professional, but channel it to your tech career. So you can put something like front-end developer for now, and in the description you can put like aspiring front-end developer. Put the languages you know for now in the skills section: HTML, CSS, GitHub, front-end development, front-end web development. Just put different skills you know how to use, and we are going to connect on LinkedIn. So I want this thing now by this week, like between Monday, Tuesday, I want this thing to be done so that I can connect with all of you on LinkedIn, and I will go back and show all of the progress we've made and tag all of you to the post and just announce anybody looking for interns or graduate trainees and stuff like that, whether remote, whether a few days on site, if the person is willing to, because I have a very large network on LinkedIn. So I'll just be announcing every week. This week we learned this, like the students now are now equipped. I'll tag all of you with this skill. You can check out their GitHub, because anything we are doing now, we'll be pushing on GitHub. You can check out their GitHub online, just to see how far they've gone and blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, pretty much that's it. And, one person might just reach out to me or one of you one day, because I'll be tagging you people and tell you that they are interested in, and I'll be saying I'm interested in internship opportunities as well for you guys. So they might just be interested and reach out to one of you, but it's good to start building your online presence now. So please, that's another take home that you do during the week as you're trying to complete your GitHub and JavaScript tutorials. Create a LinkedIn if you don't have one. If you have one, make sure it's professional. Put a nice professional picture. Put a description of your profile, everything you do or you aspire to do. And let's start building a social network from there. That's the whole point of mentorship. So that's it for today. Let's just do a quick push to our online repository. I'll push directly to our main branch, because last time I was working in future and master and future/about future/home, because I wanted to show you people branching, but this class is not about GitHub. So we are currently on main branch, and I will just push what we have done today. So if I do git status, you will see that we now have a new folder in here, which is red. This is our new JS folder. So I'll do git add dots, and if I do git status again, it's now green. It's now seeing everything we are keeping track of. So I have to do git commit -m and say add JavaScript file. So we've committed, and we'll just do git push origin main. And all our work has been pushed online. So right now, my work is online. I'm not going to lose my work. Even if anything happens, my work is going to be online for me. So if I go to my GitHub, like this, my repositories, this is our landscapes here, right? This is our landscape. And now you can see our JS is inside. With everything we created and did today, everything is all inside here. And all of our videos, all of our work that we also pushed last week, everything is here. So yeah, the same branches, the same way I left it. So watch the GitHub video, you understand what I've just done. But I want every week after our class we should push. Every week after our class we should push. That's what I want us to start doing now, so that we'll build that habit. So this is the end of the class. If you have any